Welcome to This Month in Type 1 Research. Please check the description for the original sources, and all content is general in nature and should not be considered medical advice.
Okay.
So this month, we've got some really wild stuff. Lab-grown islets, gut microbiomes, time changes messing with sleep.
Yeah, it's
What stood out to you?
it's pretty amazing how much research is happening right now. Like all around the world, people are working on this.
It's true, it's true. Okay, let's dive right into it, into that first study.
Okay.
And this one feels like straight out of the future,
Okay.
honestly.
Yeah.
It's about the first person with type 1 diabetes to become insulin independent for a whole year
Wow.
after getting a transplant of lab-grown islets.
Yeah.
You get this from their own stem cells. What in the world?
Yeah, no, I kind of geeked out a little when I saw that one.
Right.
It's really cool. So basically they took the person's skin cells
Okay.
and reprogrammed them to be stem cells. You know, those cells that can turn into anything. And then they guided those stem cells to become insulin-producing islet cells.
Oh, wow.
And then they transplanted those back into the patient.
And it actually worked.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't need insulin for a year.
For a year. It's amazing.
That's wild. So hold on. Should I, be lining up to donate some skin cells right now? Is that what we're saying?
Well, not so fast. This is just one case.
Okay, right.
And research takes time, right?
Yeah, true.
We need larger studies. We need to follow people for longer
Yeah,
to
true.
know for sure if it could work for more people.
Yeah, of course.
But, if it does,
Yeah,
this could totally change how we treat type 1.
totally. Okay, so maybe no miracle cure just yet,
Right.
but still, this is huge.
Yeah.
Okay. On to something a little less sci-fi, but just as important, I think.
Okay.
The gut microbiome.
Yes.
Everyone's talking about gut health these days, it seems like.
Yeah.
What's the connection to type 1?
Well, we saw a bunch of studies this month that point to the gut microbiome as potentially playing a really key role in how type 1 develops, and how it progresses.
Okay.
Like one study, for example, connected specific gut bacteria to worse stroke outcomes in people with type 1.
Hold on, wait.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
My gut bacteria could influence my risk of stroke. How does that even work?
It's a good question, and honestly, we're still figuring it out.
Fair.
But it looks like gut bacteria could be involved in the inflammation, right?
Okay.
That contributes to how severe a stroke is.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder that type 1 affects the whole body, right?
That's a really good point.
It's not just about blood sugar.
That's way more than just blood sugar.
Yeah.
And speaking of blood sugar, another study I thought was super interesting because it looked at how dietary patterns in early childhood,
Yeah.
we're talking baby food years, might be linked to developing islet autoimmunity later on.
It's fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Because it makes you think, could we influence the gut microbiome really early on and potentially, reduce the risk of type 1?
Wow.
It's not about blaming parents for giving sugary snacks or anything.
Right.
It's just about understanding, how those early years
Yeah.
might have impacts that we never even realized, long term.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Makes you think twice about what you feed your kids
Yeah.
or what you ate as a kid.
Right.
Okay. So if we connect those two studies,
Yeah.
we're saying we got to pay attention to gut health, throughout our whole lives.
It seems like it. Yeah.
Okay. So what can we actually do about it?
Mhm.
Give me the goods. Probiotics, fecal transplants. Lay it on me.
I wish it were that simple. It would be great if it were that easy.
Right.
Those things are being investigated actually, but
Yeah.
the research is not quite there yet to make, really specific recommendations about probiotics or fecal transplants for type 1.
Got it.
But,
Yeah.
it's not a free pass to just ignore your gut. You know what I mean?
Right. So should I be eating yogurt all day, every day? What are we talking about?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I think a diverse fiber-rich diet is always a good starting point,
Okay.
right? Think fruits, veggies, legumes, whole grains,
Right. The usual suspect.
the usual suspects, exactly.
Okay.
But really, the key takeaway here is that
Yep.
this research is telling us to pay attention to our gut.
Okay.
Talk to our doctors about what makes sense for us, individually.
Got it. Eat your veggies, but don't go rogue on some crazy gut protocol just yet.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Enough about what we're putting in our bodies.
Right.
Let's talk about the tech.
Yes.
Specifically, continuous glucose monitors, those CGMs,
Yes.
and automated insulin delivery systems.
Right.
This is an area where, the research is really, exploding.
Totally.
What have you been seeing that's interesting?
Well, one study I thought was really cool
Oh.
looked at how CGMs and automated insulin delivery are changing things, even for really young children.
I was going to say, like,
Mm.
it wasn't that long ago that this tech was, like, only for adults.
Right.
And now it's, like, helping little kids.
Right.
That's amazing.
It's amazing how far it's come.
What did they find?
Well, not surprisingly, these systems led to much better blood sugar control for the kids.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I think what's even more interesting is like the ripple effects, right? Like beyond just the numbers.
Right.
Parents and caregivers reported like way less diabetes distress, more confidence in like managing their child's condition.
That's huge.
And even better sleep.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because when you're talking about, like, toddlers and young kids, I mean,
It's a big deal.
Yeah, that's huge for those parents.
Yeah.
Wow. It really highlights how, again, type 1 is about so much more than just, like, that person's blood sugar.
Right.
It's like everyone around them, too.
Yeah, totally. And speaking of whole body impact of type 1,
Yes.
there was some research this month that really caught my eye on the connection between type 1 and bone health.
Bone health. See, I'll admit, like, I don't think about that too much. What's the connection?
Yeah. Well, there's this growing awareness that
Yeah.
type 1 diabetes can actually have like a negative impact
Okay.
on bone health and, potentially increase the risk of osteoporosis and
Yeah.
fractures, later in life.
Really? I had no idea. So what is it? Is it just, like, blood sugar levels? What's the link?
Well, high blood sugar definitely plays a role, but
Okay.
it's not the whole story, right?
Okay.
Research suggests that like disruptions in bone metabolism, may be linked to insulin deficiency and like other hormonal things
Right.
might be contributing too.
Interesting.
It's like type 1 just like throws a wrench in the whole, bone building process.
Wow. Okay. So even if you are, like, a blood sugar superstar, you could still be at risk for bone problems down the line.
Potentially, yeah.
That's kind of scary.
Which is why it's really important to be proactive.
Right.
Like talk to your doctor, get your bone density screenings, and just make sure you're getting enough calcium, enough vitamin D, all that good stuff.
So all the things our mothers have been telling us to do since we were kids.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So kind of along those lines of, like, lifestyle factors, right?
All right.
There was also some research this month about physical activity,
Yes.
body composition, and even, like, arterial stiffness in adults with type 1.
Yes. I thought this was really cool, actually.
Right.
This study really kind of, drove home that point that, like, exercise is medicine,
Yeah.
Like, more physical activity was linked to better body composition. So
Okay.
less fat, more muscle, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But it was also connected to, like, improved insulin sensitivity and reduced arterial stiffness.
Hold on. Arterial stiffness.
Okay, first of all, what is that? And why should I care?
Okay, so basically it's like a measure of how stiff your arteries are, right?
Right.
And stiffer arteries are a sign of aging, right? They're linked to heart disease.
Oh, okay.
So what this research is saying is, like,
That's it.
for people with type 1, regular physical activity, it's not just about, like, fitting into your genes.
Right. It's about your heart.
It's about protecting your heart long term.
Okay, you've convinced me. Time to dust off those running shoes. But really, like, what kind of exercise are we talking about here?
Right.
Do I need to, like, become a CrossFit fanatic? What are we talking about?
I think that's a good question a lot of people have, right?
Yeah.
And the good news is, no, you don't have to go crazy. This study really emphasized, like, the importance of just regular activity.
Okay.
Right? So that could be, walking, swimming, dancing.
Yeah. Just, like, incorporating more movement into your everyday life.
Right.
Like, find what you enjoy, right? And what you'll actually stick with.
Music to my ears. Okay, good to know. Okay, let's switch gears to another fun one.
Okay.
Sleep.
Yes.
We all know, like, how crucial a good night's sleep is,
Right.
but it seems like folks with type 1 often struggle in that area.
Totally. Like, sleep disturbances
Yeah.
are so common in people with type 1.
Right.
And they can really, like, mess with blood sugar control, too.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a study this month
Yeah.
about how those time changes, specifically daylight saving time, the bane of my existence,
Yeah.
can negatively impact both sleep quality and glucose control in people with type 1.
It's so true. It's like, it's not just in our heads.
Right.
Like, even small disruptions to,
that's
our
a big-
internal clocks. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can really throw things off. And for people with type 1, that can mean, higher blood sugar,
Hmm.
more variability,
Wow.
and a bigger risk of hypos, especially overnight.
Ugh. Yeah, those overnight lows. Okay, so we're all just like slaves to our circadian rhythm.
Kinda.
Is there
Yeah.
anything we can do about it besides like hide in a cave until daylight saving is over?
I know, right? I wish there were, but there are a few things that might help, like gradually adjusting your sleep schedule
Okay.
in the days before and after the
Uh-huh.
time change
Okay.
can make the transition easier.
So like trick your body into thinking it's no big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also like really sticking to a consistent sleep-wake routine,
Yeah.
even on the weekends.
Oof, that's the hard part.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then also making sure you're getting enough daylight during
Yeah.
the day.
Right. So good sleep hygiene,
Yes, exactly. Okay.
just as important as
Yeah.
good blood sugar management.
Yes.
Got it. Noted. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. What else? What else? Oh, this is another fascinating one. Cognitive function.
Oh, yeah.
Like the brain stuff.
Sure.
What is the latest on that?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about this potential link
Yeah.
between type 1 diabetes and, cognitive decline later in life.
Okay.
And this month, there's some research that kind of dives into that.
Okay, so what's the bottom line? Is
Mhm.
type 1 like kryptonite for our brains? Like, what are we saying?
I mean, it's not quite that simple. It's
Okay.
more nuanced, right? Like
Okay.
one study did find a possible link between
Hmm.
long-term exposure to high blood sugar
Hmm.
and the risk of like cognitive impairment
Okay.
in some people with type 1.
Okay.
But it's not like a direct cause and effect. It's more like
Right.
a potential consequence, right?
Right.
Of, if diabetes isn't well managed over a really long period of time.
Right. So it's about playing the long game. Right.
Exactly.
Like manage your blood sugar consistently to protect your brain health down the
Yeah.
road.
Exactly. And there was another study actually that got even more specific.
Oh.
It looked at the relationship between type 1 diabetes
Okay.
and mild cognitive impairment, MCI.
Okay.
And they were specifically interested in the immune response
Okay.
as a potential link.
Interesting. So like our immune systems could be the missing link between type 1
The potential.
and MCI.
That's what they're looking at.
Oh.
And they actually found this specific gene, CD3D,
Okay.
that seems to be involved in both.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
Like, what if this could help us
Yeah.
diagnose and treat both conditions?
Yeah. It's like connecting the dots between things that seem totally unrelated.
Exactly. It's fascinating.
Okay, this is blowing my mind, and we're only like through the first few studies. Okay, what else? What else is going on? Bioartificial pancreas technology.
Oh, yeah. This one's exciting.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that.
All right. So this is an area, I think, that holds like a lot of promise
Hmm.
for people with type 1, right?
Yeah.
Imagine a device, right,
Yeah.
that basically acts like a replacement for those, damaged insulin-producing cells in the pancreas.
Yeah.
That's the bioartificial pancreas.
That sounds like almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
What does that even look like? Like, what are we talking about?
Right. Well, there are like different approaches being tested,
Yeah.
but one that's really promising
Yeah.
involves putting insulin-producing cells,
Okay.
usually from either stem cells
Okay.
or donated tissue,
Okay.
inside like this protective device,
Mm-hmm.
and then that device can be implanted in the body.
So it's like a little like safe haven
Exactly.
for those precious like insulin producing cells,
Yeah.
where they can do their thing,
Yes.
without being like attacked by the immune system.
Exactly.
That's really that's pretty brilliant, actually.
It's really amazing. And it's cool. Like
Mhm.
researchers actually asked people with type 1
Oh, interesting.
like what they think about this.
Okay, yeah.
About these bioartificial pancreas transplants. And
Uh.
overall, people were really excited, like
Yeah.
they had a lot of hope.
Yeah. Imagine like a life free from, all that daily like diabetes management.
Right.
All of a sudden, like you had that freedom.
Yeah.
That spontaneity.
You're not constantly like worried.
Yeah, the fear of lows, about low
Yeah.
complication.
Yeah. So I get why people would be really excited. That would be like a huge weight off your shoulders.
Totally.
But were there any concerns about this new tech?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's important to, acknowledge that, right?
Right.
Like any new medical procedure
Of course.
has risks.
Totally.
It has uncertainties.
Yeah.
Some people were concerned about potential side effects.
How long the device would actually last.
Hmm.
And, just the fact that the implant surgery is a big deal.
Right. That's a lot to like weigh.
Yeah.
when you're making a decision.
It is. It's a big decision for sure.
Yeah.
And it really just like highlights
Mm.
how important it is
Yeah.
for researchers and clinicians to
Okay.
really be thinking about
Yeah.
the patient's perspective on this, right?
Yes, 100%.
And like involving them in those discussions.
Yes, like informed consent, shared decision-making, all that.
Yes, exactly.
Especially with something that is like potentially so life-changing.
Yes, very important.
Okay, shifting gears a little bit, this month's research
Okay.
also had some cool stuff about ultra-rapid-acting insulins.
Oh, yes.
Those seem to be like all the rage these days.
All right.
Faster acting than like the rapid-acting insulins we already have.
Right.
So are these like the real deal or is it just hype?
I mean, they have the potential to
Sure.
be really huge, I think.
Yeah.
Especially for like, you know, those pesky post-meal spikes that we all hate.
Yeah.
Right? So like, you know, traditional like rapid acting insulins
Yeah.
take like 15, 20, 30 minutes to really kick in.
Mm-hmm.
These ultra rapid acting insulins, they can start working within minutes.
Wow. That's a game changer.
Right.
How do they work that much faster?
Yeah, so basically scientists have like figured out ways to modify the insulin molecule
Okay.
so it gets absorbed into the bloodstream much more quickly.
So it's like express delivery for your insulin.
Exactly. Yes, love it.
Okay, but are they right for like everyone? Is this like
That's a good question. And it's like, you know, the thing about type 1, it's like so individual.
right.
So, you know, for some people, this could be amazing.
Yeah.
But for other folks, you know, especially people who are prone to lows,
Right.
it might not be appropriate. So it's definitely a conversation to have
With your doctor. Yeah.
with your doctor.
Yeah, find what works for you.
Yes, exactly.
Right, cool.
Personalized medicine.
Yes. Speaking of personalized approaches,
Uh-huh.
what's new in the world of closed loop systems?
Ooh. Yes, okay.
Like artificial pancreas systems.
Right. So they're getting so sophisticated. It's
Uh-huh.
incredible. And we saw studies this month
Yeah.
showing how effective they are
Yeah.
for adults, for kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's really like kind of blowing my mind is the research on using them in like specific populations, like pregnant women
Oh,
and older adults.
yeah, because those groups often face like such unique challenges when
Right.
it comes to diabetes management.
Totally.
So I'm really curious to hear, like, how are these systems helping those folks specifically?
Yeah. So for pregnant women, it's like, you know, managing blood sugar is such a tightrope walk.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so true.
Like even small fluctuations can have big impacts.
Right.
And this study showed that closed loop systems were amazing at keeping those blood sugar levels steady
Oh,
throughout the whole pregnancy
okay.
without increasing the risk of lows.
That's incredible. Taking some of the, like, stress out of pregnancy, that's amazing.
Right. Exactly.
What about for older adults?
So as we get older, we're just naturally more likely to have hypos.
Okay.
And they can be more dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And the study found that older adults who were using the closed loop systems
Okay.
had way fewer hypos,
Wow.
but they still had good blood sugar control. So it wasn't like they were sacrificing one for the other.
So it's about, like, you know, as you age with type 1, helping people, like, maintain their independence, their quality of life.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
It's huge, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, the research doesn't stop there.
Of course not.
There was another study that actually described like a computer model
Yeah.
for a closed loop system that
Okay.
would be like fully automated.
Okay.
But here's the kicker.
Yeah.
It takes input, not just from your glucose levels,
Okay.
but also your insulin levels.
Okay.
And even your glucagon levels.
Hold on. Glucagon. Isn't that the hormone that, like, raises blood sugar?
Yes.
Why would we want that in an automated system?
Okay, great question.
Yeah.
So glucagon, it's like, you know, the opposite of insulin, right?
Right.
It helps to bring your blood sugar up if it goes too low.
Right.
So the thinking is if
Yeah.
we can add this into the closed loop system,
Yeah.
it could be like, you know, the key to
Correct.
preventing and treating lows,
Interesting.
especially those, you know, sneaky overnight ones
Like-
that nobody wants.
The ones you don't even know about until you wake up.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's like having this, like, super smart system that can fine tune, like, both the insulin and the glucagon
Yes.
to, like, keep those blood sugar levels just right where they need to be.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
It's still early.
Of course.
It's like, I don't know, gives me a lot of hope
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
for the future.
Yeah. This has been an incredible, like, deep dive
Yeah.
into all this research.
It has.
We've covered so much ground, from, like, potential cures
Yeah.
to the gut microbiome to technology to mental health,
Right.
the impact of like time changes and sleep.
It's amazing.
It's incredible how much is going on.
It really is.
It just goes to show that, like, type 1 research is like firing on all cylinders right now.
It is.
And that's like incredibly exciting for anyone who's touched by this condition.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the world of type 1 research.
Thank you for having me. I always love it.
It's great to have you. Until next month, everyone, please keep learning.
Yes.
And keep advocating for yourself.
And remember to like and subscribe, and thank you for listening.